plus 90-day game. My name's Jeff Olson, and I think for those of you that are just kind of catching up, we've had probably 800 or 900 people get on board just in the last week, but that's par for the course with events, right? Everyone piles on at the end. So as many of you know, Jeff Roberti was going to be our who better than to kick it off, the man, the myth, the legend, the #1 income earner in the entire industry. My mate, my ski mate, my buddy, he had an emergency. That's kind of the bottom line. So as soon as I got that, I text my Yoda, Dr. Mitra, and as it turns out, she was going surfing, but like must have been my kinetic energy like pierced her skull, and she goes, you know what, I'm gonna go back and do some work. And she is making herself available just to share a few things as we launch into the next 90 days. I want to just kind of everyone get everyone on first base. I know we've had people joining late and catching up, and I've interacted with some of you, and we wanted to, and I'm impressed because I haven't had to interact with a lot of people. It's kind of been self-fulfilling, but give you just the quick history, and then I'll share some thoughts, and I'll let Mitra kind of wrap it up, and we'll have a shortened call. Tomorrow night launches our standing Zoom calls I'll kind of go through the schedule here in a second, but tomorrow night will be the kind of kickoff of the first Freedom Revolution Zoom call, intermixed with the posts that are going on in the group. So we came out of Indy, to give you a little background. We came out of Indy, and Mitra had said something to me that kind of got my attention, and she had kind of imparted to us that she had been meeting with some senior management, some Europeans and some so forth, and they had sort of said to her that their goal is to cross $1 billion by 2020, and that just got my attention. $1 billion. I want you to think about that for a second. In little itty bitty plant patterns, like that is game on. As Doug Barlow says, this ain't an experiment anymore. We know what we are doing, and here's the deal. It's going to go to $1 billion, kind of with or without you. And you meaning one person. But I think the group on this call is probably going to push it faster to $1 billion. So the question is, can we get to $1 billion by 2019? And so I left Indy with kind of, and what Mitra imparted to us is kind of the narrative for 2018 is FOMO, fear of missing out. Like this train has left the station. And if we can just kind of shift our brains and try to help keep people catch up instead of convince, this whole sort of mindset of FOMO was resonating with me through the late fall on how do we just make ourselves cool and hip, and like people wanting to join us and kind of pulling them along, and rather than trying to push something uphill. So I left Indy, or not Indy, Indy. I left Indy with that on my mind, and then one of our teammates, Ken Main, you need to buy him a cocktail in Phoenix. He came to me and said, I got this idea for the 90-day game. And we saw the Brits do it, we saw the Aussies do it, and he came and he had just baked it all together, and it was kind of turnkey. And I said, well, we're going to do it. Why don't we reach out to some sidelines? So I want to give props to Reagan Dean. We reached out to her last spring and said, hey, let's do some Own Your Life events, kind of modeled after the Aussies, which are really about storytelling. And we did throw those through the summer, and we did Zoom calls. And so we kind of got that down. I'm sure many of you have done that. And it's just a great format of storytelling, of product and business, and then a little bit about the company, and just kind of sharing people in 2 or 3 minute pops. And when he came to me, I said, why don't we reach out to some sideline? I sent a few texts, and Jamie Kinsey was the first to respond. She's like a shoot, ready, aim. It's like, I'm in. And it's like, bam, 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 bam. And so here we are. And we've got about 13 or 14 leaders, colleagues, sideline buddies, whatever you want to call them. A very collegial atmosphere in this amazing culture. Said, I'm in. What do we got to do? And so here we find ourselves January 2nd. And what I talked to Jeff about today, what we're going to record a call with Jeff is how to kind of get everyone sort of in a state, in a mindset. I think many of you were already sort of there. You're just ready to get on with it. But we talked about kind of what this game can mean for everyone. My athletic past, I kind of come at it from a conditioning, training, just doing. That's how I learn, is through the doing. And if we can just up our level of activity, I can assure you your learning curve is going to be higher, whether it's more clarity and certainty and energy around the product, the business, yourself, this culture, these people, one team, one mission. We got each other's back. I don't know of another company who would kind of self-organize like this with a couple thousand people, most of which we don't share any sort of financial connection. And so that's just a credit to what we have. As many people said, I think, the culture and what we have is one of the best things about this company. So there's strength in numbers. And when you bring people on to these calls through the next 90 days, we have over 1,000 people. I'm sure many people can't get on tonight. We're going to actually have this as a recording, just as the kickoff call. But just so you know, we are not going to be recording the first 30 days of these Zoom calls. So a little bit of FOMO. You got to show up. You got to participate. Even if you don't have guests, I would come in. The best coach I ever had said I got to come up with 1,000 different ways to tell you knuckleheads about a half a dozen things. These things don't change. And when you hear from Catherine Lee and Jamie Kinsey and the Rudes and Nicole Scott and Joy Kelly and Mitra, when you start hearing this cross-pollination of language, you begin to sort of ingest it and digest it, and then you can manifest it as your own. But I want to let Mitra just hop in. I've got a few other things to say at the end, but I want to have Mitra hop in and just kind of share her perspective. She's been, my mentor. I call her my Yoda, and she's been through the doctor on a tape, and then the CDs, and then the Transform 30, which turned into Shred 10, and she's a gamer. If there's one thing I know about Mitra, she is a gamer, and she's always thinking what's next and what's the next goal. And she doesn't really have to work anymore, but she is one of the most active 100 plus clubbers, I think, in the company. But I would love for her to just kind of impart her excitement about us as a company, where we find ourselves in the marketplace, and what her vision is for the next 2 to 3, 4, 5 years as a company, to kind of give you a sense of urgency. I think maybe that's, in this FOMO context, having a sense of urgency. Fear of loss can compel people into action. And I'm going to have some fun training around that in February. But Mitra, maybe you want to just share your thoughts on FOMO and the 90-day game, and how to use this as a tool to help people game up, as I say.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So
having a hard time hearing you, Mitra.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a bummer.
Just speak loud, or use your headphone. All right, I'll riff here a second while she plugs in her headphones. So one other thing that I think is really, really important. We had a couple of people ask about and I think it's already occurring. Get with your NMD and your teams to sort of self-organize, and whether it's cash prizes and awards and incentive and swag, self-organize amongst your teams. This is a game, right? So we are kind of incentive-based creatures, and I'll leave it to you all to self-organize in terms of how to throw some stuff out there for people to kind of chase. Ken Main is actively trying to find a place for us to have a pool party in Phoenix. He's found a pretty cool place already. Maybe we can get Juice Plus Corporate to front the rental fee. We'll just pay for booze. Cash bar, by the way. But Mitra, go ahead, take it away and just share your thoughts on this and what we're launching into.
Okay, about 100 people said that they could hear me just fine without the headset, but is this better? I don't know.
Not saying either way, whatever you want.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to. Okay, so FOMO. The reason I spoke to the group that way is Doug and I were heading out of the 39 Club Elton Awards, and ran into Doug Arscott and Paul Jarvis. And I don't know if any of you know Paul Jarvis, but we now have 2 COOs. Sean Hopkins is the COO of North America, and then Paul Jarvis is a new guy that they brought in. He's been very successful in the world of banking initially, and then in a couple of other network marketing companies. And so they brought him in to kind of have a fresh look at what's happening, because we all know how amazing Juice Plus is. And now the product line is expanding in a really amazing way. Like Juice Plus Complete, the latest version we affectionately call #VeggieCrack, is a game changer. The new Omegas that have come out are a game changer. So we've got a product line that is, I think it's one of those product lines that maybe 50 years down the road, if we're still alive, we're going to be like, man, we're going to really get the impact that this product line has made on people. We're already getting it, those of us who've raised children on Juice Plus. So this is something that if we don't own it, yes, you may think you have a big business, or maybe you think you have a small business. Wherever your business is, you may think we have a big business as a company, but I'm telling you, it's nothing compared to the pharmaceutical industry. And when I first signed up in this company, what I saw, I had been looking at going into industry versus staying in academia, and I had interviewed for some pharmaceutical companies, and it didn't resonate with me, never went down that road. But I got the picture of, you know, what pharmaceutical companies do just out of those interviews. And when I saw Juice Plus, I thought, this is a product that pharmaceutical companies ought to be putting out there. This is brilliant. And so when I joined, I really had this huge vision of us being on par with pharmaceutical companies. Now, I've been in the company for, you know, close to 25 years now. And yeah, we've done well. You know, that when I look at, you know, Doug and I are one of the top earners in the company. That's all awesome. That's great. I'm incredibly appreciative of the lifestyle I've created out of this. But so far, what we've done has not met up with that standard that I saw, like billions and hundreds of billions of dollars in sale, for that matter. Something that most of us can't really comprehend monetarily. It's just like too big of a number. But if you look at the numbers, I studied the pharmaceutical industry for a long time, and the kind of numbers they do selling, you know, most of which I've come to the conclusion we don't need. Most people don't need most of the pharmaceuticals. And I just got a text this morning from somebody who lives in Hawaii that I've known since the beginning of this business, and they got caught on to the Shred 10 program. And she told me, she said, you know, I've been on antidepressants for 30 years. I was taking Juice Plus, but doing the Shred 10, I realized how numb those antidepressants made me, and all this numbness of it affected everything from my eyesight, my hearing, like literally numbing of the five senses. She's talking about, you become numb in life because your five senses are numb. And she said she's lost 50 pounds, but not only that, she's gotten off of these antidepressants after 30 years doing the Shred. And now, you know, is like, wow, I'm alive again. You know, I've got more life to live. So these are the kinds of results we can create for people by holding their hand through this program. So it's on us to claim this, because we created it, we laid the foundation, we put Juice Plus out there. Now it's time to really go big or go home, because if we don't, I promise you, pharmaceutical companies are going to grab a hold of this. We want to remain, you know, Jay Martin used to say, we want to fly high under the radar. Well, we are now on the radar, and it's time for us to play full out, see yourself bigger than you've ever seen before, and take action. Like, people, there's so many people that come into this business and they think they have to master everything before they can sell it. I want to tell you something. When I first came in, I knew zero about nutrition. I knew a lot about biochemistry and how about, you know, physiology, but I really didn't understand how what we ate affected our cells. And I earned as I learned. I made a fool of myself. I would be in front of people, couldn't answer their questions. I cannot tell you. You may look at me now and think I'm some kind of expert in this product line. I want to tell you, I just was like, all I knew, because I understood the technology and because I had been juicing, is that this is a game changer, this is a win. Here, I just knew it in every cell of my body. And so I went to work, and Doug went to work with me. And then we recruited Joy Kelly. I recruited Joy Kelly, and we just kind of set ourselves on fire in the beginning. And that's why we have the lifestyle we have today. But it was a lot of work. A lot of people want to get rich. Everybody, if you ask them, they're going to say, most people are going to say, sure, I want to be rich. But are you going to do what it takes? The only way you're going to gain confidence in this business is to do more of it. That is the only, you can watch all the YouTube videos. That's all great. But I want to tell you, I didn't have the world's greatest upline support. In fact, my upline, my sponsor quit within a week of signing me up. And, I can tell, I don't want to sit here and tell stories about my upline. It's just that I didn't have that support. I started doing home meetings and I took action. Doug and I talked to, we heard this phrase, like, you got to talk to about 200 people a month. So that was just sort of a minimal for us. We were like, we didn't talk to 200 people this month. Literally, it was just like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like hash lines, like, did we talk to 200 people? And today, if we had done that level of activity today with social media, well, that's what needs to happen for us to, be on top of the Juice Plus game. Juice Plus, we want this brand to be the number one. It has to remain the Kleenex of the nutritional industry. It has to become the iPhone. It has to become the name brand. It has to stay that way, because even in North America, which is our biggest market, we're only talking about 3% market infiltration. That means most likely your neighbors don't know about Juice Plus. That means there's probably 1,000 people within a 10-mile radius. No, those numbers aren't right. Probably, depending on where you live, there's hundreds of thousands of people that don't know about Juice Plus yet. Believe it or not, it's still true. Or if they do, they really don't know what it is, actually. They may have heard the name. So we have to get on top of this game. This is not a joke anymore. This is where the rubber meets the road for us distributors in the company. Otherwise, somebody else is going to make Juice Plus. Somebody else is going to, and it's not going to be as great. It's not going to be as great, but this opportunity is for us to take advantage of. We own it. It's ours, and we have to keep it. And that means this 90-day game could set you up for the rest of your life. So Jeff talked about numbers. The reality is, yes, we're approaching, $1 billion in sales. But when I talked to Paul Jarvis, his eyes were all lit up, and he sold me. He sold me that this company is not only projected to do $1 billion in sales, but they want to do, his goal is to hit $1 billion in sales, then the next year hit $2 billion, then the next year hit $3 billion, the next year hit $4 billion. So go up $1 billion for the next 5 years. I don't even know if you can comprehend what that kind of looks like, because it's taken me 25 years to kind of build. And I'm not saying I worked all those 25 years. Most of the work was actually in the first 3 years of our business. And then we maintained and we just settled. And now we're just more picky about who we sign on and whatnot. But I heard Paul, Doug and I heard Paul, and we just said, oh man.
Did you have some FOMO, Mitra?
I just thought, damn. I can't sit back and let this happen. Here I am on my second of 3 weeks of vacation to the time that I booked for myself. But I'll tell you what, we've never stopped talking about Juice Plus. We're just more intentional about it now. And I hope this gets under your skin. I hope what I'm saying gets under your skin. FOMO should take you into massive action. Mistake your way to a 6-figure income, to a 7-figure income. Mistake your way there through action. Your confidence is going to go up only through action. The only way you learn anything is to dig deep and jump in both feet. That's the only time. Think about anything have you ever mastered anything by sitting back and just reading books and watching videos? Have you actually ever mastered anything? Anything that is actually meaningful, anything that has meaning in your life? What did it take for you to master that. And if you want to take advantage of this business, you got to play this 90-day game like your life depends on it. You don't have to, actually. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. But if you understand what I'm saying, and if you love Juice Plus as much as I do, and if you love this company and this culture, you know, and that's just the product. I could go on about what it means for our company and our culture to grow. It brings me to tears to even think about it. I mean, the kind of camaraderie we have, as Jeff said, for all these sidelines to come together and work together, we all feel it. Those of us that have been around for a while, and I think a lot of the new people are feeling it too. So yeah, FOMO, let it propel you into action like you've never taken before. You know, you want, the only thing that's going to stop you is overwhelm and not being able to take, you know, people's criticism or comments. You know, if you look, I gave up a really stellar research career to join this opportunity. I'm sure many of you have heard my story, but there's stuff out there written about me. Don't Google it. Please don't click on those. Don't give that any more energy. But I just want to say, I've taken hits. I've taken big hits. I don't care, because I know the person who wrote that doesn't have my life, doesn't have my health, doesn't have what I have. I have magic in my hands. I have magic in my hands. You have magic in your hands. So,
I think what it just brings to mind, I don't know where Joy Kelly got it, but when she said, the first time she said it, I wrote it down and it's just been in my brain ever since. We tend to bask in the false coziness of unapplied knowledge. Which part of this don't you get? The fruit and vegetable or the encapsulation part? Which part of this don't you get? You go out and share this with the world and you find other like-minded people to do so. We all know this business, but we tend to bask in the false coziness of unapplied knowledge. And like, find your guru, do Brene Brown, do Landmark, do Tony Robbins, do it all. Like, be a student of that whole thing. But if you want to learn how to play tennis, you go, I got to go out on the court and hit tennis balls. I have people that say, I want to get better at skiing. And I say, well, how many times did you ski this year? And they say 3. So we are a doing business. We are, as the saying goes, a personal growth course disguised as business. So look, high payoff activities creates its own weather. and that momentum, that force, that will of getting into action and establishing a new normal is kind of the context of this 90-day game. What if we all sort of got to a new normal? When kids go into a class, or they get into a class where the other kids are better than them, or they get on a pitch or a game, like you've heard me say, when I play up in soccer, I raise my standard. And that's one of the things that Jeff was going to talk about tonight, and we'll record him, but Roberti was going to talk about raising your standards. And imagine if we all came into Phoenix with some higher standards, where then the new people, as they came in, all came in with, just this is the new normal. This is just what we do, right? And the new normal now is, buying all the products and doing shred. If you remember 10 years ago when we had the fruit and the vegetable powders, and we were like trying to push a boulder up a hill to get them on Vineyard. We created a new normal. Now they just buy everything. So what if we came into Phoenix with a new level of activity around the business? We're very good about talking about health and about fruit and vegetable powders and about all of that. But
right.
What if we had the same?
I'm going to interrupt you right now, because you just reminded me of one thing I want to say. This is something I meant to say earlier, so excuse me for a second. So most people, including myself, we lead with the product, but I also lead with the business. It comes right afterwards, but I lead with the product. And when I was initially building this, Doug and I learned from actually the transition of water filter to Juice Plus. So the water filter NMDs were very much tell them about the business, and then, there's water filters is what we sell. So we learned to talk about the business right away. So I one of the things that I noticed, is that I am now going back to talking about the business and talking about us doing $1 billion in sales and talking about growing $1 billion a year in sales. And people say, how's your business going? I'm like, oh my God, it's going crazy. I mean, and I noticed, like, just the other day, I was talking to somebody and their naturopath has them on, $2,000 worth of standard process stuff, right? And I wasn't getting, me, Dr. Mitra, not getting anywhere with her from a product standpoint. She was just like, my naturopath this, my naturopath that. I start telling her about our company when she says, how are things going? And this is a printer I use, and I just said, oh my God, it's going crazy. That's why I need all this printed material. We're exploding. And, and I talked about the $1 billion in sales. It took 25 years, and now we're just at that like curve I've heard about for so long, but here we are, we're there now. And wow, she just said, well, as soon as you come back from Hawaii, we need to sit down and talk. So there are people out there that you need to figure out and practice on your family, practice, on your upline, practice with your sidelines, practice talking about how our business is exploding, and, and just say, hey, look, I'm sure the product's going to work for you. Just try it. Or I'm sure the Shred 10 is going to work. Do you want to do a program, or do you just want to do one simple change? And these days, one simple change is all 4 capsules. Woo-hoo! It's either way, it's a good, customer exposure. But if you tell them, and when you get results, because you will get results, you might want to jump into this thing. I mean, if you've ever wanted to create another source of income, or whether you see what I see, which is, a hell of a retirement plan, this is the opportunity. Start speaking that to people. This is the time to start talking about this company becoming the first all-natural product company to do as much in sales as a pharmaceutical company. That's where we're headed. So
like that, like, talk about a vision. Like, imagine if we start to game up with big pharma like that. Like, we can make that so, right? And so yeah. I learned tidbits from all of the leaders in this company, and one tidbit I got from Sean Myers was, people want to be involved with people that are up to something. And if you can have this little pixie dust and a bounce in your step and a twinkle in your eye and a lightness in your being and be up to something, I can assure you, you're going to be bringing people to Phoenix that you haven't met yet. And so we're about out of time. I want to thank Mitra. So context is be up to something, and that will create FOMO, right? Just by your way of being and how you occur to the world will create a sense of FOMO. Like, what do they have? What do they got? Tell me more, right? I say we're kind of in the business of, that looks cool. Tell me more, right? And so I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We did record this, so I know there was a lot of people who didn't get on. FOMO, they're probably freaking out, texting on Boxer saying I didn't get in. So we'll post this up on the Facebook group. Tomorrow we launch with our Freedom Revolution calls. Look in the feed tomorrow for the day 2 of your WOD, your workout of the day. Thank you. Mahalo, Mitra. Thank you very much. God bless everyone on the field of play. Game on. Take care, everybody.
Game on. Woo-hoo.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Happy 2018, gamers. So, day 1, here's the challenge. The workout of the day, the work of the day. To use the CrossFit acronym, the WOD of the day. Challenge number 1, telling your story. If you don't have a 10 in your mind around the clarity and certainty and energy that you bring to your story, this is an opportunity for you to get on the court and practice. We learn by doing. So here is the deal. For the next 90 days, on Facebook Messenger, I want you, or Voxer, or you use your medium of choice. For the next 90 days, I want you to get a buddy. And I want you to buddy up. And I want you to tell your story back and forth to each other every day for the next 90 days. You can do more if you want. You can do it a couple times a day, but get a buddy, start sharing your story. Here's the deal. I want you to video record your first one and your last one and save those, okay? Video record your first one and video record your last one. For the first half, call it 45 stories, I want you to do it in a minute or less. For the last 45, I want you to do it in 30 seconds or less. If you can't deliver a clear, concise, powerful story in 30 seconds, that's where the nuggets are. Then that's the challenge. You can always expand it more. You can write it out, you can practice, but I want you to get up in the morning and just riff it. Don't think, do. Don't think, do. Just get up and riff it to your buddy, and I will tell you, it's just like getting in the gym. I will tell you that your story 90 days from now, 90 riffs from now, is going to have more clarity, it's going to have more certainty, and it's going to have more energy, and that's what the world needs. So, find a buddy, find out your platform of choice, Messenger, Voxer, some people set up a private Facebook and do it video, but get a buddy, 90 days, every day, share your story, repetition, repetition, repetition. Game on, we'll see you tonight.